everything around regulation, RegTech, and sustainability. So if I've got Vincent next to me and he sees coming up right away, so I'll wait before I see him and he has himself unmuted, then I'm happy to give the floor to Vincent. Vincent, can you just unmute yourself? Yeah, very good.
Can you hear me okay, Koen?
Yes, loud and clear. So the floor is all yours. Enjoy, and I will catch up after the fire chat that you'll have with Azhar, right?
That's correct. Yes, thank you. All right.
Cheers.
Well, good afternoon, everybody in Singapore and Asia, and good morning to those dialing in from Europe, and good night to whoever's dialing in from the US. Thank you very much for inviting me today to share my views about sustainability and regulatory and legal aspects and how RegTech can help. Later, I have a fireside chat with Mr. Azhar Othman, and he has worked decades in Asia's energy industry, in traditional as well as renewable energy, as well as energy savings. But before we go there, I would like to give you a first impression about sustainability and regulatory challenges. Maybe I'll start by introducing myself, so you know who you're looking at. I don't have a legal background myself. In fact, I'm more of an investment and finance person in energy. I used to work for Shell, a Dutch oil and gas company, first in the Netherlands, then in Kazakhstan, and then in Singapore, where I did a lot of M&A work, government negotiations, capital projects, divestments, and renegotiations. So as you can imagine, in the finance and energy angle always brings a lot of legal aspects with it and a lot of contracts. 2 years ago, I founded Positive Energy, which is a digital platform for renewable energy projects. So we help renewable energy projects to find investors. That means we have a lot of regulatory and legal work on our hands. We see a lot of permits, a lot of tenders. We work in regulated industries. And in our work, we have a lot of work on due diligence documents, loan agreements, share agreements, and long-term contracts. So today, I would like to talk about regulatory angles on sustainability, the challenges that I see, particularly in this region, and how I think RegTech could help. Now, when I talk about sustainability, it's a very wide industry. But I think there's a few core areas that we can distinguish. The 3 core industries in sustainability are renewable energy projects, making power, waste to energy, anything that has to do with recycling, and also all the initiatives that are around energy savings, insulation, and efficiency. Sustainability is big profitable business. We're beyond charity nowadays. Solar is cheaper than coal. Waste to energy projects offer 30% returns, and energy efficiency projects can be earned back in a few months. So what's holding us back? Well, sustainability is very different from traditional industries. And I'll tell you what the key areas are and how this affects the regulatory angle. First of all, renewable energy is highly decentralized. We go from a system with huge power plants pushing electricity to consumers. We go to decentralized, small-scale installations, rooftop solar, small wind farms, small installations, prosumers. The second big change, which also has a lot of regulatory and legal impact, is that in a circular economy, somebody's waste becomes somebody else's resource. It's not disposed but sold, with a lot of impacts there. And thirdly, we go to very complex ownership and service models, energy performance contracts, people leasing their rooftop for solar and then buying back the power, energy as a service. The whole sustainability is very different from traditional industries. Sustainability might be good for the planet. It doesn't mean that everything is all easy.
Sorry for this. I think we got a little bit of a technical problem. I see Vincent has just left, so we'll just wait 1 second before he comes back again. Well, there he is, Vincent. I think we lost you there for 1 second. So
apologies, I had some problems with my internet.
No,
I guess too
not
many
an
people
issue.
using Zoom
Not an
nowadays.
issue. Yeah, no, indeed. Just bear in mind that I guess we lost somehow the last 20 to 30 seconds. Just if you can pick up from there again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that sustainability, even though it's good for the planet and we're all positive about it, it's a highly regulated industry. Energy is a matter of national security, which results in a lot of regulatory pressure. Waste and recycling, we're talking about waste that has a lot of regulations. I suddenly want to use waste for new food. That means there's a lot of air, water quality, and food safety concerns. And waste import and export is very contentious. We have built for over 100 years a system of centralized fossil fuel and linear consumption. We cannot change that overnight. Now, what are some of the specific regulatory challenges that we face? So I'm going to first talk about regulatory and then about legal. Regulatory, selling electricity, that sounds simple. I put some solar panels on people's roof. Selling electricity is often illegal. So I cannot just change the renewable energy system. I cannot put solar panels on my roof. I'm breaching the law. There's a lot of foreign ownership restrictions on energy, which is a key inhibitor for new projects in this region. And especially in countries around here, for instance, Indonesia, the vested interest from coal plants, coal mines, and the state utilities are very, very, very difficult in achieving sustainability. But there's items where I think regulatory technology can help a lot. The permits and compliance for sustainable projects are often the very same as for the traditional industries. In other words, to build a small solar farm or wind farm or a small recycling plant, I have the same regulatory pressure as I need for a huge gas power plant or a huge incinerator. RegTech can help by digitizing and standardizing on reporting, tracking, and product quality, on authenticity and reporting on emissions, and digitizing the entire reporting process. There's also legal business challenges. So they're not necessarily regulatory with the government, but they're legal nonetheless. For instance, efficiency. Renewable energy projects tend to be much smaller. In other words, the contracts need to be much more standardized, they're repetitive, and there's a lot of contracts. I think regulatory technology can help by standardizing contracts and using smart contracts for electricity delivery, exceptions, and statutory reporting. Another key contributor that I see from RegTech is in authenticity. In a sustainable world, we care a lot about where our electricity comes from. Was it really made in a sustainable way? What is the carbon footprint of my product? Is it product really truly from recycled materials? Regulatory technology can help in platform for certification and help with an audit trail of products and origins. The third area where I see a lot of contribution for regulatory technology is in the financing. Currently, financing sustainability remains very old-fashioned in old-fashioned project finance or in green bonds. Green bonds is very complex and only accessible for large corporates. And the smaller developers that make all the sustainable projects don't have the resources to issue something as complex as green bonds. Credit rating, SME companies in Asia Pacific often lack credit rating history, makes it very difficult to benefit from sustainable solutions. So I think regulatory technology can help a lot. Regulatory RegTech and FinTech combinations can enable green bonds and green finance, and RegTech can help with the compliance tools for green finance and instrument banks to make these much broader accessible. Now, this is my personal view on what I've experienced having worked in sustainable energy over the last 2 years. For the next chat, I would like to go over to the Fireside chat. So I would like to also invite and introduce Azhar Othman. Azhar, can you hear us okay?
Oh, yes, Vincent, thank you so much.
Okay. Well, Azhar Othman is the CEO of G Environment and Zafra Solar. Azhar has a very rich experience in traditional as well as modern power systems in renewable and energy efficiency across the region. So I think we're very, very happy today that we can tap into his wide experience and get some on-the-ground experience, some on-the-ground stories about how regulatory aspects are challenging or enabling his work. There is a Q&A facility. So as I have a discussion with Azhar, I would like to invite all of you to enter any questions that you have in the Q&A session. I will try to include them in the discussion as we go. I can't promise anything, but I'll do my best. Well, Azhar, welcome today, and thank you very much for agreeing to join us.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe as first question, could you maybe give us a short introduction about what your experience have been across the region in sustainability?
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, RegPac. Thank you, Vincent. Just to touch a bit about our company, we are a group of companies, and we started since 1994 in the field of energy. Anacon Asia, where we started off with, we are involved in the system integration of power plant. So we started from the traditional angle, whereby power is developed as a standby, as a prime power, to be fed into the client's load profile, be the hotel, hospital, textile, and so on. And we have another company that involved in renewable energy, which is Azhar Solar. So that company look into the all the renewable segment, be it in terms of wind, hydro, biogas, and so on and so on. And finally, we have a third company that involves technology, whereby we have a platform that look into the energy efficiency and losses. We call it Gatekeeper. GATE is a short form for Global Analytics Energy Doctor, whereby we can help client. And so far, we have in contact with hospital, hotel, malls, and so on. Through our ability and experience, the platform enhance the solution to be given to the client in much more quicker and efficient manner. Thereby, we can identify where efficiency losses is being ascertained, and then we provide a recommendation of a variety of solution from different part of the world, and then we put the solution to the client so that they can enjoy maximum saving, not just 5-10%, but up to 30-40%, and of course involving renewable energy as well.
Okay. Well, it's very impressive, and it's great that you've worked both on the traditional backup systems as well as the savings and the renewables. And I understand the savings part, the efficiency, and the renewables part is, of course, a recent evolution of your business. How do you see the changes? What sort of additional challenges do you see on a legal and regulatory angle when you moved from the traditional backup systems into the sustainable business?
Well, in what I see, I always look at the positive side of business, the positive side of what can be achieved rather than the negative. Of course, there's always two sides of the coin, whereby when you look at the traditional business and has been going on for so many decades, and when you disrupt this business, there are people or there are companies who will not be happy, right? They have this knowledge for the past 30, 40 years that they accumulated and realized that their knowledge is being somewhat threatened, or this knowledge is kind of like a bit of old school, right? So that's one part that people are reluctant to move forward. And there's another part is that we have this new technology or new energy coming in a bigger fashion, which is critical because this is not a matter of forcing people to take into the new solution, but the fact remains that the climate issue is at stake right now. So whether we like it or not, this is for the benefit of many people, many countries. I think this is something that we have to embrace, because eventually, if we don't have any kind of a proper system, it will go from bad to worse. So regulation-wise, there is I would say hesitation for people to embrace, primarily because they affect their business in terms of what they've been doing. The utility side also affected because their billing or their business affected because there is a second or third party coming in with their own decentralized power. So this becomes a big of a issue to balance. But however, this has to be balanced properly, and I think they must embrace the fact that new technology or renewable energy coming in creates new business, create new jobs, and so on. So these are things that I think people has to embrace.
Yeah, they have to embrace it, especially with all the highly ambitious renewable energy targets and sustainable targets around the region. But of course, every country is doing it at its own pace. Well, since you're mostly, I think a lot of your activities are in Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia. Can you maybe help us compare a bit if you would do your work in energy savings and renewable energy solutions? Can you maybe contrast the three countries in terms of the ease of doing business, the regulatory landscape?
Definitely. We have been, as mentioned, in decades in this business, and in fact, from the integration side, we have done more than 3,000 projects to 20 countries. And now we are focusing the three primary countries of what we see able to leapfrog in terms of the renewable energy sector. However, I agree with you. Even though we are just neighbors, but having three countries, there's cultural differences, there are interpretation of regulation differences, there are interests of how this needs to be done. So if I were to take Singapore, which is quite, I would say quite transparent in terms of how they do it, in terms of how much you can sell, how much you can buy, it's quite straightforward, regulation are made it clear. The only thing that if I can comment about Singapore is too regulated. Too kind of strong of regulation can hinder your ability to produce a very cost-effective solution. So I think, for example, when you do renewable energy, there are certain regulation you must follow, certain criteria of design that you have to do. So some of this, the way I look at it, taking a lot of time, taking a lot of constraint to implement it even in a faster manner. Now, if I compare to Malaysia, they are quite a bit liberal in terms of what you are moving forward with. However, what happened on the top and what goes down to the bottom, there's always a miscommunication of how projects should be executed and so on. So that also has an impact in terms of the flow. But overall, Malaysia does have a good system, and I think they were pushing for renewable energy to go very, very fast with net metering, with solar farm, and so on. I think that is good. And the last part is Indonesia. Indonesia is very, very interesting, and the fact that they are so big and so vast. And what I understood in terms of renewable energy is only 2% that's being served. There's still a big chunk of opportunities that you can go into Indonesia. But maneuvering around the different provinces, maneuvering around the different aspect of the states that you have to handle, that you must understand. Different part of Indonesia has different ways of doing as well. So these are things that you must be able to handle. And once you understand the culture, once you understand different authority, in fact, from the capital to the province, have different kind of approval, then you will not be disappointed when you go down from the different level. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of challenges, of course, and every country has their own ways of doing it. But what I'm wondering, of course, you have your work on the gate system, which is clearly a very digital solution. So you're no stranger to either the old-fashioned face-to-face meeting as well as the more digital world. Do you see that some of the concerns that you raised in both Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, do you think digital technology can help on that regulatory, on that legal angle?
Definitely, I'm pro technology. Reason being, after so many years in this line, and why I say so, because when you are doing project with different kind of people, you realize that what you say and what is interpreted is two different manner. So it's got to be I would say a certain kind of understanding. So technology create that kind of ability to communicate better. When I say communicate better, it means when we create our energy intelligence platform, whereby data that been given by the client and the report that we gave are both blockchain. So blockchain ensures that this data that they put in is encrypted, and of course is accountable. That means it's authentic. So once they give in, they cannot change anymore. The same goes for us. We are also accountable for the report that we give them. And it's important to ensure this is done, because it gives the both sides to be honest in terms of ability to present their data, right? And blockchain doesn't mean that it traps you into or try to capture your the fault that you made. Actually, no, it's not that way. And blockchain allows that in a way that when you create a data and after that you realize it's a mistake, you can create the next set of data where the next hex address coming in. So in other words, the data can be cleaned up as you progresses, because they say rubbish in, rubbish out, of course. But you must understand that when people do this, that they make mistake. So the technology must be able to allow people to make mistake and yet able to rectify and move forward. So I think this is something that we are very much pro into moving into Asia. And one of the meeting that I had with one of the investors, they said is that there are so many investors out there to put their investment into the project. The issue is that how credible and how investable is that project. And I think blockchain create that kind of transparency to ensure that this project has been analyzed, and both parties, be it the client and the so-called developer plus the investor, can track the performance of this project and realize that everybody is accountable. When you do that, and this is a win-win for everyone, whereby the client gets the ability to enjoy clean power, and of course the investor get the so-called return of the investment properly.
Yeah, so that's a major challenge, as you said, right? The authenticity of the data. How green has it really been? Do you feel that that trust is something that is very difficult at this moment in these countries?
I think trust, they say trust is priceless. Once you broke it, you can't really earn it back easily. And I think it's very important to ensure that any kind of a business that you do, trust is the pinnacle or the foundation of every contract that you involve with. Because contract is to ensure that something goes wrong, But if you don't trust that something goes wrong will happen. If you trust that something goes wrong will not happen, of course, right? So it is critical. I think when I look at Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, and so on, if you don't trust, you don't even start the contract at all, right? So there must be a level of comfort when we talk to these people. So that's the reason why I think when they do KYC of people and when we do our business, they also know that we are transparent in our work. They know that we've been in this line for so many years, and we are open in the social media. We are not afraid to describe or involve what we are doing. So that creates trust, right? There is nothing to hide. There's nothing to hide, right? And the other side must do that as well. And so when you have that kind of angle and you couple with blockchain, I think that's where the trust really strengthen. And I think that will help other investors to come in when it's a proven so-called project with good return. Now, of course, any project will have problem, of course, right? So, but at least regulation in terms of technology implemented reduce the number of failures.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Azhar. I think the interesting takeaways. So very different to doing business in Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia. Technology, as you mentioned, can create a lot of common understanding, help with authenticity, and build trust on all sides of the systems, and hopefully accelerate the drive to sustainability. But yeah, the current players will need to adapt to a whole new framework in the world. Thank you very much, Azhar, for your time, and thank you very much, RegPac, for hosting us today.
Thank you very much, Vincent and Azhar. I very much appreciate it when you said rubbish in, rubbish out. I think that was a very good bridge